Today we have Chris Jenkins with us, who is the director of the company MRC, which is a music management company. He was also the manager at the Bournemouth International Centre.
I think they spend too much time online, thinking that if they spend their time online building an audience, that it will translate to that in reality. I'd say that this is also more of a recent thing over the last 5 to 10 years, where as more and more social networking sites and various other online tools, whether they be paid for or free, everything presents itself as being the solution to how you market yourself, how you build an audience. And in reality, although they play a key role in managing audiences, it's not the answer. The answer, in my opinion, is really respecting traditional marketing activity, from grassroots, above the line marketing, from posters and leaflets, to building word of mouth. And so I think it's a case of looking back on what used to work, because it's actually, by doing that, it's actually quite different to what anyone else does right now, because they generally spend their time trying to get liked, or poked.
Anything.
If you are lucky enough to have convinced someone to come see you play first off, and you've worked hard enough to get someone into the room when you're on stage, and it's the start of building an audience, you just got to reward them. It can cost you money, but it's what the value of that relationship is. So when I was in a band, and we used to, this is a long time ago, we used to do gigs where we gave away free champagne on arrival. We used to give everyone free sticks of rock, and every show we'd make sure to give away something. I mean, for us, I mean, we aren't playing anymore, so it wasn't exactly the greatest marketing strategy, but our plan was to build an audience and to make it a fun show, and make things that people remember. And I would advise people to respect and reward their fan, because they go to many other shows, and if someone else looks after them better, it's where they're going to spend their next money, and it's going to be with those that they have a better relationship with. The answer is to do whatever it takes to build an audience, and I think in a world where people want different things, they want to go to somewhere different. If that's what it takes, then put the gig on in a church, and if that's what you think it needs, then you should try it. And that novel approach might reap some rewards. That isn't the sole answer, but if you're gigging in one town relentlessly, people will not go to the show in the same venue, because it's boring. And so if you want to gig relentlessly in a town to build an audience, then you've got to try different environments. That might be logistically a nightmare, but at the same time, it's not necessarily about you as an artist, it's also about the punters, because it's an experience. I think firstly it comes down to logistics. If you're based in a certain town, the idea of building an audience 300 miles away already sounds like it's destined to fail. If you are lucky enough to build an audience in your hometown, then the key is to focus on sustaining it. So I think it is important to have a plan as to what you're going to do after you've established your audience, but you just got to make sure that you can sustain it first where you are, and I'll leave that up to them to decide how they do that. Well, I think they're not mutually exclusive. So far as being very talented, yes, that's very important, but also your ability to market yourself, they go hand in hand. So my I suppose philosophy, for what it's worth, is the audience is key. Building the audience is everything. And if artists aren't interested in that, that's absolutely fine. They can concentrate on their trade, become the best at what they are. But they need someone, whether it be their best mate, whether it be a bloke down the pub, or whether it be a professional music manager. Someone's got to be looking after the audience and the plan around how you're going to build on that audience. Because if you don't have that, it doesn't matter how great you are, apart from for your own self, belief and which is equally important. But I suppose from my perspective, I would always see it as a waste if you aren't playing to people, and an even bigger waste if they're not buying your albums. So I would say that building an audience online and using a social platform, whatever it might be, it has its place, but it's just as valuable building that audience on a pad of paper. I think there's always been millions of artists out there. One of the byproducts of the internet and the social media is that it's given these millions of artists a belief and the opportunity to take themselves to market. So what that's done is dilute the whole industry, because everyone therefore believes that, well, if my tunes are on a internet shop, or they're or I have a website, or I have a a MySpace, or I have a whatever it might be. It's not sending the right. These services aren't sending the right messages, I think, to the actual artists that say this is the solution to it. The reason why artists were very successful in the past is because they had very good marketing strategies behind them. I'm sure the lead singer wasn't doing that. It was some guy or girl out the back, with a pad of paper and maybe even a laptop, trying to decide how best to build up their audiences. So the sad thing is that because there is now so much noise out there, there's so many ways to access music. It has the downside of it is, where do people get there? Where do customers find out about music? And even worse for an artist is, what's the best way to reach new audiences? I'd say that if I was in a band just starting out, that I would spend all of my time, aside, assuming the product, the music is good and you're organised, spending my time building up a fan base, or building up a list of people who have given permission to talk to them, and just build up dialogue with them. I think spending time chasing an elusive music manager, or even an investor, whether it be a record label or a private individual or a concert promoter, those people become interested. There's two sides. I suppose back in the day there were these high risk-taking organisations like record companies that used to pump a lot of money into a product that was unproven. There was no track record, no history of sales, and they would have some great successes, and they'd also have some ones you haven't heard of. But they probably spent the same on both. But I think with these days, if someone was to invest, and there's people out there that are not record labels that are investing in music, they want to see some track record. They want to see that you're organised and that you have a product that can be sold. Because if you can, like with any business, if you can show us revenue, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, it's something which you can invest in. And so I would spend my time getting organised, trying to build up an audience, sell some product, and actually have something which you could then show to people that means something, rather than it being, hey, we're the greatest band on earth. Guess what? So are they over there. Everyone's the greatest band, but not everyone sold 1,000 records. I think, so far as it being a right time, booking agents generally find you, because the good ones are the ones that are talking to people that hands-on in the industry. So they're talking to the busy venues, they're talking to people that work in what's left of a record label. They're the ones that have got their finger on the pulse, and they'll find the bands that need a booking agent. And then that's generally because they're already touring. And if they're already touring, they're organised, they're making money. It might be a small amount of money, but they're making something. So it's similar to talking about when should you go and get a music manager. I think these people that are set up for it, they'll find you. And a band trying to find a booking agent is like cold calling, and we've all done it. We've all phoned up the same person, and we've all said, "I've got this great band." Okay, my mates, but do you fancy taking them on? They're not interested. They want to see somebody who's already doing 20 shows every 2 months, playing the toilet tours of this country, because they think that, well, there's money to be made, and they can also see that, well, if they've got an audience, then maybe that will fit in with one of their other artists. So we can put them together with a view that some of those fans will actually like this band, and then we can put them in bigger venues. So I think I would say that through experience of trying to convince a booking agent that this is a good idea, I'd give up immediately and just wait for them to phone you. And if they don't phone you, there's no great loss. Well, I would say that Facebook, or whether it be if someone signed up to your mailing list, if someone has given you permission, well, however big or small that permission might be, the aim is to reward them, and that's give them something free, because the chances are that they're going to know someone else who might want to have the CD. Because if they've shown any ounce of interest, then leap on it and just look after them, because they're going to be the most important asset that you've got. I had it recently where I'm producing some shows, and we had a Facebook page, even though we have Facebook, and someone liked it, and I got an email through from a colleague of mine saying, "This guy has just liked it," and I thought, well, what does that mean? And I realised who it was. It happened to be the head of a very large record label. And so I phoned him up and said, "I noticed you liked us on Facebook." It was extremely one of those awkward conversations that, does this make me, am I a stalker now? And I kind of feel like I am. But he'd given me permission almost to harass him. And we haven't spoken since. But he likes us. So, yeah, it's the start of a relationship. So, like any relationship, you want to blossom into something. Don't screw it up, or just don't make sure you text her back when she texts you, but don't send her 1,000 text messages, and don't ignore her whatever you do, because otherwise you won't get any action out of it in the business sense.